In this tutorial, we'll go over how to play the role of the Brawler. Let's start with some theory about the playstyle, how to choose a mech, how to build it in the mech lab, and end off with some example gameplay. The Brawler is a master of short-range combat. Your goal is to close with the enemy and overwhelm them with sustained firepower and high durability. They focus on using heat-efficient, low cooldown, short-range weapons, such as large-caliber autocannons, short-range missiles, and backup lasers, along with constant torso twisting and shielding to maximize durability. The mark of a good brawler is their use of terrain for cover and knowing when to commit. Because your weapons are limited in range, there will be situations where the enemy is too far away for you to engage. You then have two choices: hunker down and wait for the combat to move, or use terrain to close on the enemy. If you are caught in the middle of a sniping battle, it is a valid strategy to take cover and wait. Poking out and taking fire early will just hurt your ability to survive in the late game, where a fresh brawler is a serious threat and can clean up several damaged enemies. If you need to act sooner, then you must use terrain in order to close the distance. This is where intimate knowledge of the maps in the game comes into play. If you know the various flanking routes and pieces of cover in the maps, you will be able to move on your opponents in relative safety, forcing them into your mech's preferred engagement range. When choosing a brawler, you can select from a wide variety of mech weights, from higher end mediums to top end assaults. Brawlers are then separated into two different categories based on their mobility. The very top end assaults, such as the Atlas, will max out around 60 to 70 km per hour and won't have the mobility to flank opponents effectively. These brawlers are sometimes referred to as juggernauts and should push directly at the enemy using whatever cover is available, acting as the spearhead of your team and using their massive durability to absorb enemy fire. If your brawler is lighter and capable of moving greater than 75 km an hour, you'll be better suited to a more mobility-based playstyle attacking the flanks of your opponents. For hardpoints, we are looking to base our build on either missiles or ballistics, along with some backup lasers. Lighter brawlers will have to choose between the two, while heavier ones can take a combination of both. If basing on missiles, you want to find a mech with 4 or more missile hardpoints to fill with SRM-6s. With ballistics, you only need 1 to 2 hardpoints, as ballistic weapons are much heavier comparatively. For quirks, brawlers benefit the most from health increases, cooldown reduction, and heat reduction. Here are some example choices for brawlers based on these criteria: the Griffin 3M, Timberwolf S, Warhawk B, and Atlas S. Let's look at an example build using the Timberwolf. For this case, I went with the Timberwolf S variant for the single center torso jump jet. However, you can do this build on any of the Timberwolves with slight modification thanks to the Omnipod system. With our mech fresh from the store, let's strip its components and rebalance the armor. Next, changing out any Omnipods that we will need for this design. In this case, D variant left and right torsos, and either Prime or C variant left arm. Since our build will be based on missile weapons, upgrading Artemis is a good decision for the increased accuracy. Next, we can load our main weapons, a cluster of 4 Artemis-equipped SRM-6s, 2 in each side torso. Then adding our backup weapons, 4 Clan small pulse lasers, 2 in each arm. With 4 SRM-6s, we have a total count of 24 missiles. I recommend around 1 ton of ammunition for every 4 rating in SRMs, meaning that this build with 24 should carry around 6 tons of ammo. For this example, I am using slightly less with 5.5 tons, but that is something you can adjust based on your experience with the build. Next, we can look at support equipment. With a Mark I targeting computer increasing the range of our lasers, and filling up the rest of the weight and space with heatsinks, toggling the lower arm actuator on the right arm off in order to make room for the last heatsink. For modules, you want cool shots. This allows you to keep fighting at full intensity for longer when you choose to commit. Also, either artillery strike or airstrike has some utility, allowing you to damage opponents further out than your weapons will allow, or use it as suppressing fire when you're needing to move forward. For mech modules, the standard seismic sensor or radar deprivation are strong choices. Other possible choices include target info gathering to speed up the paper doll of enemy mechs, allowing you to know where to shoot sooner, and 360 target retention that will allow you to keep a lock in a brawl even if the opponent gets behind you. For weapon modules, the priority is range on your backup lasers, cooldown on your main weapon, followed by range on your main weapon. Your brawler is now ready for battle. Let's look at some example gameplay using this build. In this assault match on HPG Manifold, I am moving to regroup with my team, using the terrain on my left as cover from the enemy. Slowly moving up the ramp, I look back and forth to try to spot any enemies. Seeing the enemies move up, I choose to commit to the center, using the pillars as cover. I step out, planting a good SRM volley into the blackjack, armor rolling immediately afterwards. Keeping the majority of enemies in cover using the pillars, I peek out and take shots while I can. Unfortunately, this enemy drops and my missiles fly over his head. Instead of staying out in the open, I fire on the blackjack as I move between cover.
New target acquired.
Noticing the stationary enemy light in the distance, I call out to an ally that has the range to deal with him.
New target acquired.
Moving around the side, I fire on the enemy Marauder and armor roll his return fire. Falling back into cover, I take a shot at the stationary M1 Jaguar. Noticing the enemy massing on the left thanks to the information provided by the friendly UAV, I move forward to cover that approach in case they choose to push from that direction, using the pillar on my right to cover my flank. The Arctic Cheetah moves up and I shoot him with my lasers, then flick my crosshairs forward to provide the lead required for the SRMs landing a good volley.
Target destroyed.
-1 Atlas.
Moving on the right flank, I drop down and use the ramp as cover. The King Crab is unfortunately out of our range, however I do notice the enemy UAV being deployed and fall back to take it down with my lasers. Seeing that my allies are committing to this right side push, I move forward charging the enemy, severely damaging the Griffin,
New target acquired.
and taking out both the Marauder and Cataphract.
Damage. New target acquired. Target destroyed.
Noticing the score of 7-0, I decided it is time to commit fully and charge the remaining enemy mechs, providing them with a durable target while my allies take firing positions above. With good use of terrain and committing to the push, we are able to finish this match in a landslide victory.
SRM ammo.
Thank you for watching this tutorial. Good hunting!